Hello, everyone. This is Dave Horner with Small Town Life, part of the Studio 25 podcast network. And today I've got a couple of guests who've been on here before, but they've been for the last year. They've had some really interesting travels, and so I thought I'd go ahead and interview them again and find out what they've been up to. So, Michael Flores and Austin Green, hand gestures and all. All right, what have you all been up to? So, Michael, I'm going to start with you because, just a little background on, and so we don't make anybody go back to the old podcasts and see who you are.
Why not? Don't you want them to watch all those older
episodes? I do, but nobody's going to do it. We're all lazy in this day and age. So about yourself.
Yeah, so we a film that Austin and I created together has officially been picked up for distribution by a company called Good Deed Entertainment.
But that's the current news. Like, who the hell are you?
Oh. I'm just some
What's
guy.
your birthday?
He just, did we not go over this?
Sorry. So I'm a filmmaker, lives in upstate New York. We're working on some projects. Am I? Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
So sorry.
A little bit closer, do the rate here.
Should we start over?
At this rate, we're going to have to.
I'm ruining this.
Yeah, I don't do cuts.
So, we are working on some film projects together.
And Austin, we're gonna have to do this to him again. I said, "Who are you?"
My name is Michael Flores.
I said that, but it's like, but you're upstate New York. But did you just show up here and not do anything, and now you have a film, or what? I mean, give us a little background. I think he did hit that whiskey bottle before he got here.
So I'm a filmmaker, writer, director, producer, actor, chef. I do whatever I can
But you grew up here in the Valley,
I did not.
right?
No,
you did not. See?
No. This is something we did talk about last time.
I know.
I was an Air Force brat, so
yes.
I lived all over the planet. So when people usually ask me where I'm from, I just say Earth because on average we moved like every 2.5 years.
And you did say that the last time, from Earth.
Did I?
I remember that, yes.
I guess technically I'm a New Yorker now. This is the longest I've ever lived anywhere. I'm a Frankfurter.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Frankfurter. All right, a Frankfurt guy.
Yeah.
All right, so, and Austin, I'm going to switch to you a little bit and kind of you show him how to do this correctly. Talk about who you are.
I am also from Earth.
I'm not going to put the camera on you, Michael.
Not yet. I'm from Little Falls, born and raised. I went to school for filmmaking and acting behind and in front of the camera stuff. I met this guy a couple of years after graduation. I graduated during COVID, so for a long time I was just doing my own thing. And one project that I worked on at that time was this children's book, which we're going to talk about, called The Human. And with that, I've also been working on an animated show around the same idea, a bit more expanded, a bit for a more mature audience, but the children's book is out now.
All right.
And we also have some, like we're going to talk about some film projects.
We're going to talk about some stuff.
way.
So, Michael, you had a hell of a year and a great film journey. So tell us about the film, how it got started, kind of walk us through and what you've been through the last year.
So, the last year, a lot has happened in this last year. So we created this film, originally titled Sendero, and essentially believe it or not, this actually started out as a student film project. During COVID, I decided to go back to school to get my master's. I started attending the Vermont College of Fine Arts, which is an amazing school, amazing program. Anybody ever thinking about, getting into, a master's degree program for film or anything, they offer a lot of, masters in fine arts. But it was phenomenal. I learned so much. Honestly, it was the best decision I ever made in my life. This is a big sponsor video for them.
I'll send them a bill.
So I was working on some projects and, thinking about what I wanted to do for a thesis. And I didn't want to just write another script to potentially sell one day. I've already got a stack of those. I decided I really wanted to write something that I could potentially shoot myself, or even just make like a proof of concept for. And so, the first thing I did is I kind of took stock of all the resources I had. Thankfully, COVID was the worst year of my life. We lost some loved ones, and it was a horrible, horrible ordeal. But at the same time, it was the first time in my life that I had money, time, and resources all at the same time, and other people who were, ready to actually get on board and do something, because they all had time and money and resources too.
And they were all doing nothing, and it was like, hey.
Yeah, exactly. So there was people that I could ask, like, to get involved in this project without either paying them up front or, offering them some kind of deferred payment, or, any number of things, because people were comfortable doing that for the first time because they, had a little bit of leeway.
Yeah.
The rent man wasn't knocking at the door. Over here for the rents.
Could have been,
but it just kind of really all came together, and that ended up being the whole spirit of this entire project, and it keeps going that way, and it's wonderful. And I know that whole cliched catchphrase, everything happens for a reason. A lot of people say that, and I certainly never subscribed to that before, but that feeling is, what is happening with this project over and over and over again. Anything that ever seems to be any kind of hiccup or hurdle, it just ends up being a blessing in disguise. Yeah.
So the project you did in school, did you come up with the name Sendero back then? And that
I
was
did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was like your thesis, right?
Right. The Sendero is Spanish for path.
Okay.
And as I started writing the script, I already knew that was going to kind of be the theme, or at least I thought it was. Everybody kind of is on their own path in life, and maybe that path might veer off into a gully or somewhere else, but eventually, you find your way back. And again, that's really kind of the spirit that kind of continues to kind of be a big part of our lives and our relationships as well, because it really does feel like this was something that brought us all together, and we were supposed to be together. Right. And now I don't refer to everybody who's worked on this film as like cast or crew. We're the Sendero family, because that's truly what it feels like. The Path family. Yeah. You've been stumbled upon with your feet. So what were your expectations when you first, you got the script done and you were thinking, okay, now what? I've assembled this group of people that have been sitting around during COVID, and we can make something happen. What did you think at that point in time? Where were you trying to go with it? I didn't, I wasn't sure. I knew I wanted to make something that I could utilize as a strong festival piece. And it was really kind of a fine line that I was kind of towing, even when I was writing the script, because I wanted to write something that was, had an indie vibe, independent film feel, but also had some kind of commercial aspect to it, something that was, commercially viable for the general mass public. Right, that people would want to go into a theater and see. Yeah, basically, and that's very different, isn't it? If you're just trying to get awards, right? Are you trying to get like the attention as opposed to the film? Yeah. Like, look, I can do this stuff, and maybe that'll lead me to a real movie. Right. But you had to do both. Exactly. Yeah. No, that's that's and that was exactly it. It was, I could have made a very art house movie, and I certainly in some aspects wanted to, but basically I was making an independent film for people who don't go watch independent films. This was almost like my way of showing people like indie films are great, and you should give them a try. Yeah, and they can be a little weird sometimes. I mean, there's just some really odd subjects out there. For sure. And you're like, okay, can't get those 2 hours back in my life. And don't know why I watched till the end, hoping something would change. I mean, I won't disagree with you entirely. No. Yeah. But I mean, it's a tough nut to crack. And I think, there's a lot of people that are trying to do exactly that. And I think that we were pretty successful in that endeavor. We had an incredible festival run. We didn't get into every festival we wanted to get into, but sometimes it's not always about the, I guess, quality of the project. It all depends on if you fit into kind of the theme of the festival that year.
Right, that year. And they change, right?
They do, yeah.
Yeah. So can you say which ones you wanted to get into that you didn't, or would that?
I mean, obviously I wanted to get in all the big ones. We didn't get into Sundance or Cannes or, Venice, and believe me, I tried.
That's coming next time.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, we're also contending against like multi-million-dollar films, like huge.
Those are
huge
not
movies.
Indie. I mean,
No, they're not. I'm sorry, I love Wes Anderson, but does he really need to be, premiering at Cannes? It's not really an indie film anymore, is it?
That's like, that's big time.
I'm sorry, that's a hot button or a hot take. But
good thing I pushed it.
But that's the sad truth. And if you actually look at some of these bigger festivals, they don't call themselves independent film festivals anymore. They just call themselves film festivals. They've taken that independent word out of there.
So have others grown up in their place that maybe up and coming that would mean something to you? Is
Sidewalk
that what you
is a
kind
good
of
one.
hit? Okay.
That was one that we really wanted to get into, but this is a very small festival. I mean, it's only over a weekend, so they have to be very choosy. And like I said, we're contending against a lot of heavy hitters, and they have a responsibility as well. I can't entirely put it on the festival for basically wanting to bring in big name actors and directors and everything else, because they have to put asses in the seats.
Yeah. Well, and it's cash. It's money.
Yeah. So they don't do it out of the kindness of their hearts. They make money doing these.
Try to
things.
make money. Yeah. So what did you win? Walk me through the accolades.
We won a lot, close to 20 awards at this point. But some of the bigger ones were Full Bloom in North Carolina, the Reel to Reel Festival, also in North Carolina, the Rally Film Festival, also North Carolina likes us.
You didn't have any banjos playing in the background of Sendero, did you?
Maybe one scene. No.
Maybe one scene where Rosie would. No, I just.
We won the Carmarthen Bay Film Festival, which is in Wales. That was a big one. We did win over a multi-million-dollar budget film that was like huge. Those guys were super cool. I just reached out to them just because that's what this is all about, right? It's not. Just,
you were like, "I'm sorry, don't kill me."
No, it was nothing like that. It was just.
It was like, well, Wales.
No, these guys, they were actually from. I think they were from Oregon or Washington, one or the other. But they were super cool. And that's part of what these festivals are about. It's not just trying to sell your film. It's also about networking and meeting other artists and, potential avenues for, where you could take your art.
Well, when you're winning like that, that kind of opens more doors for you to meet those people too, because now you've got some credentials. Right? Yeah. You're coming in there not as Michael Flores from Frankfurt, and they go, "Where the hell is that? Germany?"
Yeah.
So it's like you're somebody.
I actually used to live in Frankfurt, Germany.
I figured you did as an Air Force brat. You probably did, yeah. So Austin was involved as part of that crew. Tell me a little bit about that part, Austin.
Yeah. I saw not an ad or whatever you want to call it, casting call for a local film, and put my my video in, and then. Came in and he saw that I also.
I was like, he's got it.
Yeah, he saw that I had experience behind the camera stuff too, production crew, and after he found that out, just asked if I could basically that week come aboard and start helping with the crew, and it was, as you've said before, like a 6-person crew, very small.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about the size because you were making a joke in one of your reels about running back and forth across doors and then filming it from the inside, making like a big crowd is going back and forth as you guys run in loops.
That's right. Yeah, I think I played a cop too at one point.
Yeah,
you did. Yeah.
We all wore many hats, but that's coming from going to school from filmmaking and not really getting many opportunities to jump right in, which not many people do. A lot do start on the production side, but getting the first independent film opportunity to both act and do basically every different position was a really like educational experience that I don't think many people get right out of the bat. You know?
Wow. So it really helped you then.
Definitely, yeah. And like you said, we're not like just refer to each other as crew members or employees. We're definitely like a family now. And the smaller scale helps. I think it's definitely possible on a bigger scale, but the intimacy in that level and that camaraderie that you have with each other, just after the first even week or two, something felt.
And you do hear, when you watch the behind the scenes stuff on even bigger films, that tends to be the case in a lot of cases, right? Where there becomes this family, and it may not be everybody involved, like production side of it,
There's
but
pockets
cast,
of it.
Pockets of it kind of thing, cast or production crew and things like that get those pockets.
That's one of the blessings about an independent film with a small crew is that pocket encompasses everyone.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah, you're not just, falling in love with your department.
yeah.
With bigger films it does happen, but they, more often than not, sadly, you feel like you do have these really strong connections with people, but it is because you're spending like so much time with them. If you're working like 16 plus hour days with this same group of people, you form a bond, but unfortunately that bond tends to kind of just disappear once the production ends. It doesn't always stick around. Sometimes it does. But
From
not
that
always.
production side, I mean, how much was involved? How many hours of shooting, acting, editing, sound, everything? What do you think it was in total?
I kept it pretty light our days. I didn't want anybody to ever feel burnt out.
He just didn't feed us or let us drink water.
You gotta get it when you gotta earn it, buddy. I can see him doing that too, actually.
No way.
Yeah, way.
No, I think on average, we had like 10-hour days for the most part. I never wanted anybody to feel burnt out, but it did feel kind of like, it felt like a filmmaking summer camp because of that. Because, afterward, we're done, pack up the gear, offload the video cards, the sound cards and everything. And then we're just, outside having a drink or, lighting a fire. We did like an outdoor movie one night. Just, like.
When you said it, though, that's a wrap. I think we've got it. How long was that time frame? 3 months?
Oh,
6
the whole
months,
thing
the
was,
whole thing.
It was, we shot for, I think 24 days.
Okay.
And then we did reshoots. It was like a 5-day reshoot schedule.
Okay.
So in total, just under 30 days. Yeah.
All right. A month.
Solid month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Solid month. Okay. Because I was curious about how much time to put this together. When did you?
That's good for having like no money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of time on everybody's part. Even if it's 10-hour days. I mean, that's a lot of hours times 6.
Yeah, like
right?
a month-long schedule for a feature film. That's kind of average now. I mean, it used to be much longer than that back in the day.
Right.
Films would shoot for anywhere from like a month to 6 months. But nowadays,
what has shortened it?
Technology.
Okay. All right. So that's really taken that much off.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and better time management, basically. Now studios have the ability to use sound stages. And I mean, they had sound stages before, but, with the ability to just kind of like fly things in and out a lot easier. But also, the digital age is here. You're not processing film for dailies and stuff like that. Yeah. I think.
Did you still go through that process of looking at the dailies?
Oh, yeah.
And seeing
course.
what you got okay. Mm-hmm. What was the first one that you won where it kind of triggered, I think we have something here. First film festival. Which one was first?
It was so funny. I'm trying to remember which one it was. We couldn't attend it. I think it was one in Canada. I can't remember which one it was, but it was so funny because I was talking to John and I was like, oh man, we got into this festival. This is great. And then it was like really late notice that we got in. And then literally 2 days later, I was talking to him over the phone. It might have been like a week, minutia. Anyway, I was talking to him over the phone, and as I'm talking to him, I'm checking my email, and I'm like, oh shit, we won. The goal was just to get into a festival, just to see what we could do. And then we started winning, and then, it was 1, and then it was 6, and then it was 10. And it's like, oh my God, this just keeps happening. And it just became this thing. If we got into a festival, we won it.
Wow.
And that was, I think there was only 1, maybe 2 festivals that we didn't achieve something that, that we got in anyway.
Right.
But yeah.
So your goal with your film, your goal was to actually make it marketable, right? Not just to have a bunch of ribbons on the wall, but to actually get it to where people could watch it.
Right, correct.
A mass audience, right? Yeah. So tell me about that process.
So I could have easily made a very sad movie where an audience just wanted to go home and slit their wrists afterwards. But
that'd be one of Austin's slasher movies. Yeah.
But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to have something with heart. I wanted to have something that was memorable, with a positive message to it. And because that's, again, this is celebrating our paths in life. And, sometimes sadly they come to an end.
They always come to an end.
Yeah.
If you know of somebody who hasn't, let me know, because they're on the next show. But I guess I just really wanted to find something that, like I said, just had a positive outcome. I think everybody who because I had a lot of mentors during the course of writing the script as well, and friends that I would send pages to as I was kind of writing them along. And a lot of them were like telling me they were fully prepared for, spoiler alert, they were fully prepared for Saul to be crying on a mountain holding dead Rosie's corpse in the air. And they really thought that's not it. So don't fear. It's a happy ending.
It's sort of.
Happy melancholy.
Bittersweet, I would say.
Yeah.
Sentimental, sure. And that's not that word kind of comes with. Some people fear that word, the sentimental. Like it has like negative connotations of hokey, but it's not hokey. I don't
No, I like the word.
Sure.
I think it's a good word.
I do too, but some people shy from it.
So what's the status of the film now? Tell me what's happening with it right now.
So we were picked up by a distributor called Good Deed Entertainment. We've changed the title of the film to Dogs on the Sendero. That is the new title, which it was kind of a compromise with the distributor, but it's grown on me. It kind of sounds like a Western, which I think is pretty cool.
I was gonna say, hi-oh, Silver, Rosie, go away.
But I don't hate it.
All right,
It's grown on me. I'll admit, it's grown on me.
Okay, you hit me hard with it.
I will say their logic and motive for it was sound. So they thought that just the word Sendero would shy audiences away who might think it was a foreign language film.
Okay.
Because it is Spanish.
Okay.
I am Spanish.
Yeah, but I don't know. That is part of the Western American culture, that word.
A lot of people, even a lot of Spanish-speaking people, are not familiar with that word. I was shocked.
Really?
Yeah, my mother was like, "What's that word mean?" I was like, "You speak Spanish." But it's I don't know. But it I like the idea of like the one word title.
Right. I do too.
Easy to remember.
It's like powerful.
Yeah. Goes good on a moniker.
Yeah.
But this works. And it's more marketable.
Right. So what's going to happen with it now?
So now we are going to be releasing on streaming platforms on August 5th. Just prior to that, we are going to have a very limited theatrical release, which I'm super excited about. But so we're going to be releasing in New York City and hopefully Los Angeles as well. We're still working on that. So.
I think we should have something locally too.
Oh yeah, we're definitely good. We're gonna do some more local screenings and such. But and we're gonna try to do like some Q&A screenings and stuff like that.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're gonna do like a week in the major markets because that's kind of
That's where the cash is.
Well, that's how you qualify for the accolades. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have no delusions of like this. We're gonna win all the Oscars this year or anything like that.
Just half.
Just no. If you have a successful audience who views it, that's something, right?
Yeah.
It's about getting in front of
Right.
the right audience. Getting in front of the right set of eyes that could make a difference. Okay. After all, like I said, the whole purpose of this film was to build a foundation onto the thing that we actually want to do here in upstate New York and in Little Falls.
Well, I want to go to Austin and his year of travel, and then we're going to come to what we want to do.
Yeah.
But I think I'll go ahead and take a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Visit the Daily Post and stay connected with the latest news, information, and events in the Mohawk Valley. Our mission is to generate interest in the area and connect residents in a more meaningful way by facilitating deeper conversations about how these stories will shape the future of the Mohawk Valley. Join thousands of weekly visitors who stay up to date with feature stories, interviews, videos, our event calendar, and print publication, the Mohawk Valley Express. It's about timely local news for the community, keeping citizens informed about important issues, telling about the people who live and work here, and giving locally owned businesses the opportunity to reach a very targeted audience of locals and tourists alike. It's a whole new form of media-rich content developed specifically for today's mobile lifestyle and listeners. You can download our iOS app in the iTunes Store, listen to our podcast, or sign up for our weekly email newsletter. Stop by today at thedailypost.digital. You'll be glad you did.
And
Wait, where was the commercial?
The commercial, it's right there. No, we're back from the commercial break, and we're talking to Austin Green now, who wants to talk about, he can't spell because he spelled the human wrong. So it's H-U-E.
M-O-N.
M-O-N.
Jamaican flavor.
Yeah. So tell me about this, because I think the last time I saw anything.
This is for you, by the way. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I do. I think the last time I saw this, you had sketches on an iPad.
Yep.
And now I can touch it.
Now you
I
can
can touch
touch
your iPad too, but you slapped me. So tell me about the book.
Sure. Yeah. So the original idea was for a children's book, and it was just about, I came up with the idea during COVID quarantine, had no jobs at the time, and it was a lot of social, political, racial, and like medical divide in the country. And I was aware of all of these things before, just never really hit me to the degree it did at that time for whatever reason. And so I felt called to make something that would remind everyone of our humanity, our shared humanity. And so this first idea was for a children's book, and it was about this green-skinned monk that came across this yellow person and a blue person arguing, helped them find peace, and they both turned green, just like mixing blue and yellow paint, make green paint. And so that was the idea of just this person going around and helping people find peace and bringing them together. I just hit my water bottle.
I know.
So that idea evolved once I asked myself what would happen if, when following the primary color wheel, if he met his opposite, which would be a red person. And if this monk was a peaceful, gentle, tender person, this red person would be aggressive and angry. And that sort of helped me realize that this would work really well with associating personalities and emotions to the colors. So just to quickly go through the wheels of these humans, and yes, it's spelled H-U-E, like color hue. Red men, yeah, there it is. Red men are aggressive and assertive. Orange men are anxious and cautious. Yellow men are scatterbrained and energetic. Green men are peaceful and passive. Blue men are lazy and calm, relaxed. And violet men are sort of gloomy and depressed and quiet. So it kind of broadly encompasses the both color wheel and emotional wheel of us as humans. And so that idea springboarded a whole animated show from that. So the bulk of these past 5 years, I've been working on the scripts and the whole concept of that. And then just recently, within the past year, I've decided to circle back and finish the original idea of the children's book. So this follows, like the original idea, this greenman turtle that finds a blue man trying to take a nap under a tree and this yellow man playing around in the tree above, them arguing. He helps them find peace. They both turn green. Then they come across an orange man that's scared of a snake. Or a little side note, every animal in this universe is a plantimal. They're part plant. Just a little fantasy flair because I love fantasy. It helps them calm down. And the way these humans work is if they start to feel like their opposite personality or emotion, they will glow that opposite color and flip. Just like if a person is typically, let's say, a green, peaceful, calm, or gentle, and they get really angry, these humans would flip into a redman. So they meet this orange man, they're very scared, and then this green man helps them calm down, so they flip into a blue man, which is calm. And then just like the other one, they start to blush into a green man because you're influenced by your surroundings. Then they meet a violet man, they're sad, he cheers them up. They flip into a yellow man, and then same thing, they meet a green man. Then he, like the original idea, comes across the red man, but instead of helping this red man turn into a green man, this protagonist turtle, he flips into his opposite red man. And so then the story is about reconciling all these different parts of you, all these different personalities, and understanding that not any one state or personality or emotion defines you. It's actually the encompassing of all of them. It's the human that you are, not the redman or the blueman or the yellowman or any of those. And so that was the theme for this whole project, and it personally helped me. My last name's Green, as you have seen. And
don't know where the agreement came from.
Yeah, no idea. But something that I tease people because I've been selling this at the restaurant I work at lately, and I always tease people and ask them, what color is this person that you're with, or what color do you think you are? And they'll answer, and then I'll say, well, remember, you're actually a human, not just any one of those. And that just kind of reminds people that.
And then they go, check, please.
Check. That's where you hear the no tip
That's
rule.
Exactly.
This whack job.
We're going to take this to go.
This can go either way. Either they give him a large tip to get rid of him, get him out of the restaurant so they can return sometime, or they don't give him one because they think he's off his rocker.
They sneak out the back door.
They sneak out the back door without paying their bill.
Yeah. So that's been the project I've mainly worked on in the past year. It was mainly this children's book.
Okay. I have a weird question about this. In the last year, AI has just literally exploded. And from a creative standpoint, of course, I look at all the baby videos on Facebook, but beyond that, but they're taking everyday things. And I'm wondering, have you thought about what that kind of technology could do today if you created these characters and 3D animated them and made it more immersive? Is your head gone down that space?
It's definitely been a path, but I would like actual humans to, like when I do the animated show, I would like actual humans to work on it. If there's like some way, whether it be like the background or something that they could use AI to make up for lost time or crunching hours.
Like it in a volume, and then
yeah, but not necessarily. I don't like personally, at least the stage they're at now. I don't like the look of these 3D like AI generated ones. They haunt me, honestly. So, and I grew up on cartoons like many kids my age, and I personally like the 2D art style. I'm not the biggest. There's Japanese anime, which I'm not too into.
I don't like that
more,
at all. There's something that's more scary than your slasher movies, to be honest.
It's for a certain audience, and there's definitely great artwork and stories in that world. But I grew up on the westernization of traditional animes. The biggest influence for me is this show called Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is about a fantasy show where people use martial arts to bend the elements of water, earth, fire, and air. I grew up doing martial arts, and I love the style of that because it has this Western feel to it, but the whole world has a lot of Eastern traditions and shares the themes of like balance and harmony, inner peace, and how that inner peace can help you find harmony with others. So that's been a big influence on this, and I'd like to follow that thread of the more Westernized version of animation for this show.
Okay. Yeah. So all of that leads to...
I like anime.
Nerd. I knew you would. Somehow I knew he was going to say that. You know what? There's 2 commercials on TV for drugs, and they use anime. And every time they come on, I'm like, just don't even get it. I mean, I get anime, but just
for
how they used it.
prescription drugs?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, that's weird.
One
I
is,
didn't know where he was going with that.
no, you haven't seen them?
No.
One, I don't know. I don't want to name them and get sued, but one of them, I think, starts with a V, and then the other one is the whole lights of the city go out, and this girl's running through the city, and she goes and finds a plug to turn the lights on, and you're like,
And it's a pill.
yeah, and you're like, what's that got to do? Okay, you take
Who's
a pill.
this
And
for?
exactly. Who did the market research, and who are you trying to reach with this? Young kids and dope them up? I don't know. Anyway,
Maybe.
there's that. All right. So all of this has led to, you started to hint, future projects.
Yes. So,
I come back around.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
I don't forget.
yeah, we're really trying to build something here. The film industry right now is kind of in the toilet. And we discussed that last time.
A little bit, but what's the stage now? Has it gotten worse? Is it better?
I feel like it goes back and forth every week. It's like, oh, Mission Impossible is doing great numbers. Hooray for film. And then next week it's going to be like, oh my gosh, nobody's going to the theaters anymore. And it's unpredictable. And it's really hard to tell where anything is going, really. But
is it because of the proliferation of the numbers of ways you can see stuff, or
Yeah, like there's more content than there is actual like
that's part of it.
art,
yeah?
TikTok
So there's a
and
lot
all
of
that.
crap out there, really. And,
Well, it's not just sure the quality of things has gone very much downhill because it's becoming to the point of just having. I guess I'm going to get into this.
Go ahead. Yeah, no. Well,
get that
makes
whiskey.
it interesting.
It's the idea of we got rid of satellite TV, we got rid of cable, right? And we just replaced it with a newer version of it. So everybody said we're going to cut the cord and we're going to do something else. But what did you actually do? You just took away one option and you filled it with another, and you're paying just as much now for just as many options.
Right.
So you really didn't change anything. If anything, you just messed everything up. And Netflix was a big blame for that. Yeah, it was revolutionary. It was really cool. It was great to have, these things that were on demand. But now all of these streaming platforms, they all have commercials in them. So you've just turned off one channel and turned on another. That being said, these streamers now have a responsibility to fill their platform with stuff. And maybe that stuff's not very good, but they have to have something there. And it stinks because once they finally do get something really good and something that you like, I stopped watching the first seasons of anything because it's going to be gone in 6 months and it's not going to get renewed. And the problem
There's a lot of that going on. There really is.
But it has nothing to do with the quality of the project, unfortunately.
What,
So yeah,
what
some
is
of these,
doing it?
they're just not getting the numbers because now with these streaming platforms, they can see in real time how many people are watching these things. And if they're not getting a strong response within the first 3 days of being released, they're seen as a failure. And that's just stupid. And the problem with that we've gotten rid of now is because we have the option of binging everything, right? Everybody wants, I want it now. I want the next episode now. I want to watch 6 hours of this show right now. This is all I want to do today.
But that kind of makes it like a movie, like you're going to a movie experience. I mean, I kind of like binging. And I don't really like starting and having to wait each week for like we used to.
Yeah, well, that's understandable. But what you lose by taking that away is you lose people talking about these things.
Oh.
So now, we used to have that old terminology, the water cooler chats.
Yeah.
When we would talk about...
I have one around the corner if you need to talk.
Well, you talk about what we're watching, you talk about the game or whatever it might be. That opportunity is gone now. Nobody is talking about, I can't wait to see the next episode. I can't wait to see the next episode of Game of Thrones. I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to ruin anything.
I don't know, Landman and 1843 or what. I mean, I think some of those had that kind of conversation, didn't they?
When you take that away, you better have a good marketing budget. Because if people don't know this thing exists, especially, 2 weeks to a month prior to it being released and they're not prepared to watch it, and then all of a sudden that 3 days comes up and you don't have the numbers that you want, you're suddenly in danger of not getting renewed.
Wow.
And that's just silly.
I see the trap now.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you lose the opportunity to get people to talk about things. And there's definitely platforms that are now realizing that. You've got Apple TV and HBO, whatever it's called nowadays, Max
Yeah.
Plus.
Max plus 12
Go.
times 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Now they're realizing that. Even Disney is releasing, episodes each week rather than just everything all at once. I think really, honestly, at this point, Netflix is the only one that's just releasing everything at once. But they have the ability to do so because they still have a lot of contracts in place and licenses that they're able to fill their coffers with all this different content of, well, you're done with that one? Now go back to the other thing that you like.
So if they have, like, say they had planned 8 episodes of something, they wait until all 8 are in the bin and then they release them at the same time? Is that what they're doing?
Yes.
I didn't know that. All right.
Yeah, it's not like TV used to be like you were shooting things every week and then you'd release one and then you better hurry up and finish next week's or
else.
so on and so forth. Yeah. And now it's just, there's a benefit. There's cost reductions to shooting everything at once. We learned that with, the Lord of the Rings trilogy when they just said, you know what, let's just shoot them all at the same time. And I think that's probably kind of when it started rather than just trying to shoot. I guess no, it was really, really only sitcoms that were shooting just episode by episode. I think most TV shows
Rather just go all the way through. Per season.
Did they really?
Yeah.
I would think.
I don't know, to be honest
Maybe,
with you.
yeah.
But in any case, you had that time between episodes where people were actually talking about it and, you were stirring up excitement and you no longer have that.
Huh.
Secondly, these, the cost of doing all these things have ballooned to a point where it's virtually it's just unaffordable.
You mean the marketing side of it?
No, I mean for studios to make these shows anymore. There's so little new projects in production in the United States right now. And yes, there's states that are offering incentives. New York they doubled their
they
tax
really
incentives.
increased theirs. Yeah, I saw that.
California was like, we don't need to do anything, which was foolish. But there's so much more incentive to go shoot over in Canada or
Right
in
across
the
the
UK.
border. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what all these studios are doing. And the answer is trying to find balance in your budgets, right? When we had IATSE strike, I'm part of IATSE,
Which is?
oh my God, you're going to make me.
Of course I was.
Why
Why would you say the word IATSE and then think I'm not going to ask you what that means?
International Artists in Theater.
You got to go look for he's a card carrying.
Yeah.
Boy,
oh my God.
tell
I
you.
don't know why I'm blanking this.
He's a card carrying Yahtzee.
Please cut this out.
No, God, we're live. Sorry.
No. International,
I'm not cutting it
International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees.
Okay, all right.
Sorry, I really messed that up.
I'm going to quiz you later.
Yeah.
So IATSE went on strike. SAG's gone on strike. All these unions are going on strike.
Well, because of AI, the impact is one of the reasons, right?
That was a small reason, honestly.
What was the big reason?
The big reason was, so when Netflix, Hulu, all these other streaming platforms decided they were going to start creating their own content, I hate using the word content. When they wanted to create their own movies and TV shows, they were smaller studios. They were small entities, right? They were trying to compete with the big 7 or 6, however many it was at the time, big studios, and they didn't really have the budgets to do that. So they struck these deals with IATSE and SAG. They were called New Media Agreements, and there was other platforms agreements, different titles. So under these new agreements, they could pay people less money and ask them to work more hours. Those studios have since become the biggest guys. Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, they've all become the biggest studios on the planet.
And they still have those agreements in place.
Exercising those agreements.
I see.
That was the biggest gripe. So
I can see why.
Yeah.
We helped you get successful and now you don't want to share.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, IATSE went on strike. In my opinion, didn't really gain a lot of ground. we all kind of predicted that there was going to be some kind of agreement that was struck in the 11th hour, and it wasn't everything that we wanted. And
he says we now like he knew what it meant.
I know, right? I am such a con. I'm not even in IATSE anymore. I've bowed out.
Well, then you're okay.
Yeah, I haven't paid dues in a long time.
Now you can though.
I don't know. They probably won't let me back in.
Yeah. Not after this interview.
So there was some change, but it was minimal. And really, what kind of spurred those strikes and the need for those changes were all the insane accidents that were happening. It was. Oh God, I'm blanking on names again. I feel awful.
You're not talking about like gunfire on the Rush set or things like that, really? Yeah.
But even prior to that, there was that poor woman who died on that John Hurt. Is that his name? I can't remember. The guy.
There is a John Hurt, but
it was that she died with a train. She got hit by a train, like literally.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
It was
one.
a small. I feel so terrible for not remembering names or
it's
anything
Yahtzee.
like
It's
that.
a game.
But they were shooting on like a train track. It was like on a bridge or something.
Wow.
And everybody was under the impression that the producers knew like the train schedule and they were in communication with all that, and they were not.
Oh, geez.
And this train came in and killed somebody and injured a lot of other people and damaged the gear and equipment and everything. You know what trains do when they're moving. But
they're hard to stop.
yeah, but it wasn't just that. Those were the two big, like, major ones that hit the news. But there was people driving home and falling asleep while they were driving. I've known so many, like more than a handful of grips and like lighting techs who have been driving home after a 16 to 20 hour shoot day, falling asleep at the wheel and almost dying, getting into horrible car accidents.
Right. So there was a real reason for all of that.
Yeah, they weren't taking care of people. And SAG saw that as an opportunity and they jumped on board. And again, I'm going to badmouth them a little bit here, but
you don't have a SAG card in there,
I do have a SAG card in my wallet right now. And the thing is,
boy is toast. He's not doing anything. It'll be independent, all right, from now till the end of time.
When the SAG strike came around, again, there was motivation for it. There was reason for it. AI was part of it. But also contracts, people weren't really getting their fair share. However, that SAG strike really felt like top tier got to go on strike, and us down here, we had to go on strike. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there was still a lot of people that were working, but they had agreements with SAG. Like, hey, I'm also an executive producer on this project that I'm doing right now.
So that gets me around.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm qualified to keep working, right? Oh yes, of course.
Yes.
Of course, Mr. A-list.
You didn't get that.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
But when the ink is dry and the new agreements are signed and everything else, they come out with a shiny new project ready to be sold, like right then and there. And what do I got? Nothing.
Nothing.
But the sad part about that is, though, yes, everybody deserves their fair share. But the question is, what is fair? So many above the line salaries have just inflated to an insane degree now that like half the budget is going towards salaries. Like how are you supposed to say like, hey, I want to put all of that on the screen there when it's like, okay, I've got, a $13 million budget. Well, hey, you want an A-lister, it's going to be about half of your budget right there.
Well, and that becomes the self-fulfilling push for AI because that reduces costs. So I can see a circle forming there.
I don't.
Do you see it? Come on, Mike.
No, I don't. I'm not. I don't. I'm not on.
Well, if you're
board
producing a
with
movie and a majority of your money is going towards salaries, how are you going to make up the difference in your production?
And that's another. That's the question, and that's why there's so many of these studio pictures now that have like there are hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars.
It's crazy.
to shoot these things, and people are asking like, where's that money go? And it's not going where it needs to go, because look at all the
Starving Austin Greens.
Yeah, starving Austin Greens. Look at this.
I said I wasn't fed.
I know.
There's been so many special effects companies that have gone out of business.
Yeah.
And instead of doing the right thing, saying, hey, let's pay these guys what they're worth, we invested money into AI. And that's where my beef is.
Okay.
So, and there was the other thing, like you said, the poor DP from Rust who got shot and killed. Instead of saying, hey, we need more protections against stuff like this from happening, people said, you know what? I'm going to vow from here on in, we're not going to use real guns on set. And like, for the first time in my life, I agreed with the NRA. I was like, it wasn't the gun.
They're not connected. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it was, you didn't have proper safety protocols.
Right.
It's just, those are the kind of things that really frustrate
Austin's
me.
like, when are we going to get him off this?
Yeah.
No, I was at a question. How do we fix it? How do we approach it?
Yeah.
Well,
from the independent side, which is where we are right now.
That is how we fix it. Is with
From the
independent film.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost
Because
like starting from the ground up again.
Yeah.
it's
right?
exactly it.
Yeah.
It's
So speaking
which
of
I
that,
yeah, we're like vaudeville all over.
yeah, yeah. Where's the beef? Now,
Yeah.
new projects. See that transition?
Yeah.
You had said beef earlier, and it was in the back of my head. So this has brought you to the point of where now you want to do new work. This has gotten you the acclaim and hopefully some money in your pocket. Mm-hmm. Although after you pay the fines to Yahtzee, you may not have much left. But and SAG, he's never going to forget that either. What are you thinking now?
So yeah, we do have, honestly, I have projects as long as my arm. The question is, which ones can we feasibly do right now? So it's really talking about, what do we have the budget for? And I don't know, should I?
We could go into another COVID scare and make them all work free. There's that new variant out of China we could start talking about. Now Austin would be like, I don't want to get locked up again. What do you need me to do, Michael?
That's long enough. Locked up long enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some things working on the way.
Well, is there anything you want to talk about? Has this propelled you to? This has propelled you to want to do more in the Valley.
Oh, for sure.
For me, yeah, definitely.
All right.
Yeah.
Most definitely. We do want to do more here for sure. This is home now. This is places like this is where the industry is going to continue to thrive. It's going to flourish. And like, we were just talking about, that kind of is the answer, is to have these low budget projects, but story has to be put at the forefront. That is the most important thing here, because if you have bad story, bad performance, nobody's going to want to watch this thing, because we don't have names to sell. We don't have car chases to sell. We don't have those things. So, that's the key to success, is having something that speaks to a broader audience, that, hopefully someday somebody's going to say, hey, this is my favorite movie. You've never seen it before? You should check it out.
Mm-hmm. Are you trying to rope in maybe the smaller towns? Because even towns like Albany and places like that are trying to become kind of film hubs, because it's close to New York City. It's cheaper. You've got some series and things being filmed there. But trying to make a market for a Little Falls or a Frankfurt or somewhere here, is that the intent?
I don't really know. I would love to, but being organized with all these entities, that's tricky. And there's that whole mentality of like, if you build it, they will come. I mean, look what Netflix just did in Jersey. And I mean,
with the studios they're building,
they
there?
literally just did that in New Mexico, and there's nothing there. So I'm talking a lot of shit in this podcast.
Yeah, you are.
Go on.
See, SAG, Yahtzee, Netflix, they're all, they've all disowned you now.
I'm gonna get blackballed.
It's all good publicity, right?
Yeah. Look, they're good, positive things. They're fighting good fights. It's just, it wasn't the outcome I wanted.
Yeah.
But
I mean, speaking to the idea of creating, I'll use your bad word, content here. Mm-hmm. Do you have something coming up soon? Are you looking for people? Are you?
Oh, certainly. Yeah, we have a project Right now it's actually nameless.
That's good
There's no
because it
title
could be
to it.
dogs on Little Falls streets.
Yeah, that's just the dog movie.
The dog
Doggone it is what it's called.
Yeah.
But it's I don't want to give too much away.
Well, don't give anything
It's
away
still in
other than-
development, but we are hoping to shoot this summer. We're kind of
Supposedly we're in summer, even though it looks like winter. But
by August, I'm hoping.
Okay.
So it's
right.
yeah, we have a little time between now and then, so it's iffy, but
it's got to be in the valley.
yeah,
shot in the valley.
It's small enough to where it's something that we could theoretically achieve.
Okay.
For a low budget and.
Another crew size of 6, looking for more.
I mean, obviously, we're always looking for many hands that make light work. It's not always the case, but sometimes we want other people to feel involved, like there is something growing here. I never seek to start a project where people feel like, oh, they're working on my movie or anything like that. This is our project.
Movie.
Yeah, this is and very much so this time around, as we did with Dogs on the Sendero, because we had a lot of people did a lot of work for just points on the back end, and I'm incredibly thankful for that. And they saw the value in what we were doing, and they still do. So they're ready to come back and do it again.
Well, they got those points now. They got to cash them in. Make the next one, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Well, it's awesome having both of you on here today. We did, like you say, we covered a lot here. Just under an hour, though. We're good.
Right.
I can see a little clock on there somewhere. And we'll have you back when we can talk more about the next film and things like that, and
For sure.
see if
I'll try not to be so angry next time. And you know who else's fault it is?
We're pulling these Yahtzee cards right now. That's all I can say. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Small Town Life.
Cool. Welcome back.
This is the addendum.
Yeah.
We played music. It stopped. We switched chairs.
Musical chairs.
Yeah. I wanted to wear something nice. I had like nice clothes laid out. This is too damn hot.
Yeah.
So I put on my Mandy shirt.
Okay.
So, I guess I just really wanted to talk about, let's talk about, I guess, the human first. And really what, both of our projects really deal heavily with
Emotions.
Human emotions, kind of overcoming those emotions, overcoming grief, loss, different aspects. So I guess let's talk about the human a little bit, and I guess really kind of what inspired that for you.
Yeah, so I'll touch real quick on this idea of like overcoming. I have found that for me, through what I've been through, I like to use the word integrate a bit more. I studied a lot of psychology during the time of the creation of this, just really trying to get the message as clean and pure across, because I didn't want people to really judge themselves for any of their emotions, but at the same time not totally submit themselves to it either. So like with Dogs in the Sendero, Soul, he's obviously he confronts grief. And that's not something, yes, it's something you want to overcome, but sometimes when people feel like they have to overcome something like that, it's an obstacle instead of something to honor, you know?
Yeah.
And that goes with any personality fault or emotional hindrance that people feel like they have, like anger. Like that's been, for me, something that I've had to come face to face with many times, and it's been easier for me to look at anger as something that is part of being human, not necessarily something to overcome, but something to direct and to channel in proper ways, right? So for anger, a different way to look at that energy, and energy is kind of another word that I kind of like to use. It's more basic and neutral. Another way to channel that energy is something like working out, something creative, writing. You can write with anger, or passion is almost another reframing of that particular emotion. or say sadness or depression, like people feel that they have a right to feel the way they're feeling.
Sure.
And it's not necessarily something to, like I said earlier, judge yourself on or feel less than what you should be for if you're sad or depressed. It's just something that you are at the moment. But when you can, going back to the human, if you can look at the wider picture, like a higher perspective, you can see the whole human that you are, essentially. And that's been a big theme for this book and for what the show is going to be, is that there's so many different scenarios and situations that people can face in life, and there's going to be so many different reactions to those things, and it's about maybe not necessarily reacting to them, but responding and realizing your responsibility. That's, I think, what I feel that word really means, of responsibility. It's your ability to respond to whatever situation comes at you in a way that's constructive and not so much destructive. But even if you do be a little destructive sometimes, it's a learning opportunity, which can come later. And that's a response it's more of a response than a reaction. And that's something that I have also found that Soul kind of goes through in the movie, in Sendero, Dogs on the Sendero, that he has a visceral reaction to what happens to his wife. I won't go too into it because spoilers, but it's totally justified.
Yeah.
But he also goes through this journey, he travels and finds himself, and that's his way of integrating what has happened and then using it as an opportunity to grow.
Right. Man, that's all very well said. Like,
Thank you.
Beautifully put.
What happened? I blacked out.
Thank God.
No, I think, gosh, those are powerful words. The way that you like just eloquently put all that, that's something I definitely wish that I had heard when I was younger, for sure. Just trying to better understand these emotions and being more empathetic and like responsible, just like you put it. That's fantastic. Yeah, Soul does go through a lot of that. So for those of you who don't know, who haven't read the IMDb page or anything like that at all, so the basic synopsis for Dogs on the Sendero is about this young couple, Soul and Gina, who go to school to become teachers, and they adopt a little dog named Rosie. They buy a vintage RV that they plan on fixing up and going on this epic road trip across America for their summer vacation. And they have all these grand plans, and unfortunately, Gina is killed in a school shooting. And
Thought you weren't going to give anything away.
He's the director.
The synopsis is, it's kind of a trigger warning at this point,
right?
Because it is a very, very heavy subject matter, and we want people to be aware of that going in. We talked about leaving it as a surprise, but that's not really something that you want to, pull the rug out from somebody.
It's the inciting incident of the movie. So,
So he eventually does go on this kind of epic odyssey of sorts. He's got, him and Rosie get in the RV, who's named Hannah, and they go on this big journey, and he learns a lot about himself, lessons from his mestizo heritage, and people he meets along his path, his Sendero.
Now, Mikey, you played Soul, yes?
I did, yeah.
So question for you about emotions and all this stuff. What's something about Soul's journey that surprised you, like at the end of filming? Like that you obviously wrote the script as well, so you knew the whole journey, but what's something about when you were playing Soul, the actual feeling of it? Like there's this one shot of you like really screaming. Yeah, which is one of my favorites in the whole movie.
Yeah.
So one example could be that.
He is a screamer. So
he was him screaming. Yeah. I scream in the background. Yeah. Usually behind the camera. Do you have a memory of like acting as Soul that really surprised you? in terms of the emotions?
Honestly, everything was a bit of a surprise, which was phenomenal. I had the real benefit of casting very talented people. Someone sitting right here.
Yeah, I thought he was talking about himself. You just got done asking him. You played the part, right? I cast some really good people.
So I guess I'm going to kind of let on to my one of my directing secrets as far as like this time around, because I was in front of the camera as well. So I had an idea of how each scene was going to play out. And a lot of that was based on auditions from people. Everybody that we worked with this time around, with the exception of John Proudstar. John Proudstar and I have known each other for like 20 some odd years. So like I knew I wanted him in this movie, and I wrote the part for him. But everybody else was cast through auditions. So I had an idea of what their abilities were and how the scene was going to play out. And every single one of them surprised me. And that is hugely beneficial because, as you know, 90% of acting is reacting. So if I already know how things are going to go, then, it's my reaction's going to kind of ring false.
Yeah. How do you look authentic?
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you're surprised by what is presented to you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I learned that really quick, like after the first day with Anne Sweet, because she was so good. And she had, so much input for her character. And I was just like, yes. Yeah,
keep it coming.
Tell me more. I'm not going to be the person who's going to. No, this is the character. This is how you're going to play him. What's the point of casting actors if you're just going to use them as meat puppets? And
right.
So,
meat puppets. Okay, there's that Yahtzee reference again.
So she had a lot of ideas, and I was like, yes, yeah, let's do that. Why not? Let's try it. If it doesn't work, we'll try it the other way. And I learned really quickly to let them go first. So that is how we shot the rest of the movie. It was always, okay, we're going to get their coverage first and then we'll get mine, because that gave me the opportunity to get into the scene as well, because I'm doing so many other things. I'm wearing so many other hats. I'm worrying about lunch. I'm worrying about, I'm helping John with lighting. And we're all set up for every scene. So doing all that in such a rush, and then suddenly like, oh yeah, I gotta cry now. Oh. So I let them influence me, and I was able to, because even on your days, we made sure that you didn't really have anything to do. We didn't want you, because he was doing a lot behind the camera as well. But I didn't want you focusing too much on any of that. I wanted you to focus on what you were there for. You were there to act. But everyone else, with the exception of Austin, all the other actors, that's what they were hired for, was just to act. So they had time. That's their job. Their job is to know the lines, prep, have an idea, know who your character is, or have an idea what your character is. That's, so they're entirely focused on that. So when they come in and they're ready to go, boom, I can get, their coverage first, and I can see how things are going to play out, and then I can be completely surprised by all that when we turn the camera back around on me. So doing that really helped with my performance as well, because I was able to tune in. I was able to tune everything else out, I should say. But that was still a difficult job. I don't know if I want it. I would do both jobs, like in front and behind the camera again, but probably not to that extent. I don't think I would play the lead in something that I was directing again. I did that honestly because I didn't know how this was going to go, and it's one less person to pay. And
yep.
I don't know if I ever told you, but the first college I went to, local Herkimer College, my not senior, it would have been my second year when I was going to graduate. The main project that I worked on was a short film, and I also directed and wrote and starred in it as well. Yeah. So I have some experience with that, like juggling as well, and it's definitely just that, juggling, and you're off balance half the time. But I found that it helped me, like you were saying, react with the characters and know exactly what I both wanted out of them, but like what I wanted out of the main character, Aiden, at that time for that project. And I personally really enjoyed it. There's also a lot of like action scenes, so that was fun.
Yeah.
But also difficult because obviously if you're the director behind the camera, you can tell the main character, just the characters, how to move and what angles and other things like that. But it's a challenge.
Yeah.
But did you find it fulfilling? Definitely
No,
at
I
the
loved
end.
it. I loved every moment of it. I just, I fear that, well, my big fear was that I would suffer in one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And, that, thankfully I had great people like John McGinty behind the camera, somebody that I could trust wholeheartedly. But, there's some things that I wish I could have focused a little bit more on. I think one of the things that, and I think this is probably a lot of early or first time filmmakers or directors kind of mess up on, is one of the things I wish we had done more on is get a lot more insert shots of the places that we shot at. And we didn't ultimately end up really needing them, but it would have been helpful and beneficial, I feel. But it was like small things like that if I had just been directing, I would have realized on the day and in the moment. But otherwise, no, I mean, acting is probably the one thing that I'll never be humble about. And I've learned not to be humble about it because, I mean, that's the thing that I've worked on really hard. That's a craft that I've studied for a long time, and I've worked to get good at that thing. And so I'm not going to be humble about that. That's what I do, and that's what I started out as before directing. And I'll never feel like an incredible director. And I feel like a passive writer. But acting is the one thing where I can do that.
That and cooking.
And cooking.
No wonder you went hungry.
I know.
Had some pretty good meals. So in Human, where ultimately do you think this is going to go? Like this character, this Green Man.
Well, he's definitely one of the main characters. I won't go too much into the animated show and those main characters because there's definitely one specific Redmond that parallels his journey in their own way. But as far as the whole project, I mean, I've worked on this world, like I said, for like 5 years now. So as far as the trajectory for it, I definitely have the show in mind. I have a prequel show for like ancient humans that leads up to the point where the first show is going to start. Mm-hmm. I do want to make a show for kids because obviously it's a children's book that's going to start it all off.
Yeah.
I would like this first animated show to be a bit for young adults because I want to touch on more mature topics like war and obviously easy one, racism, and even like some drug like abuse, things like that.
Sure.
And but I do want to make a kid show as well that I would almost like to be based around the children of the main characters of this first show. So that's down the line as well. I'd like to
like Muppet Babies.
no Muppets or puppets. I think like I was talking about earlier, I did martial arts growing up.
Yeah.
And so one thing that I wrote the first season of the show back in like 2021, I believe.
Yeah.
2020 actually. And I knew I was missing something for the world. All I had in terms of the magical elements of the show was the humans and the way they work. But I just hit this writer's block, whatever you want to call it, where I knew I had to go back and rework or just add more to the world itself. And I mentioned earlier, there's these plantimals.
Yeah.
And there's these special plantimals.
Now, how did you come up with that? Was there like just a
plantimals
eureka
themselves?
Moment or?
Sorta, yeah. I mentioned that show Avatar, the Last Airbender, last time we were talking, and in that show there's very simple combinations of two different animals. There's like a bear, moose, and things like that.
Yeah.
And like turtle, duck. That was one of my favorites. And turtles, I'm a big fan of turtles. That's the main character's name. And so I just wanted to do a little spin on that, and plantimals lent itself well. But really, was this eureka moment came when the problem I faced the first round of writing was I have these separate color cultures And just to kind of set up the show, basically there's these separate color cultures. Yellowman, Redman, and Blueman are the main ones. And they've lived apart for so long that they've forgotten what they actually are humans. They just call themselves Redman, they just call themselves Yellowman and Blueman. Mm-hmm. They don't remember their shared heritage. And that is the mission of the main characters, is to remind everyone of who they really are and their abilities to change and shift between their emotions and their personalities and their colors. But what I didn't have was a real solid reason as to why these color cultures were stuck in these personalities and in these cultures. So one thing that I came up with, which also introduced the magic system, were these special plantimals that produce a substance or a fruit that both sort of teeters humans when they eat it towards a certain emotion and thus color, but also gives them a temporary superpower. But it's all extensions of the core of personalities and emotions. So, for example, Redmen, they're aggressive and assertive.
Right.
The plantimal that they sort of coexist with is a cactopanther, a panther with cactuses on its face, and it produces panther sap. And when they eat the panther sap, no matter what color human they are, they'll shift towards red, and they'll get super strength. Super strength, to me, seems like an extension of aggression.
Ah, right. Okay, yeah.
Another example, Yellowman. Their plantimal is the coffee bee, and that when they eat the bean honey, they get super speed because they're energetic and scatterbrained and all like that. So all of these humans have a plantimal that they coexist with, that they've basically built their civilization around, and because of that, they've been constantly ingesting these foods, and then they never teeter away from that personality type. So they're always blue or they're always red or anything like that.
I see.
And that's what keeps them. That's what basically makes them forget that they're all humans. And so that's what I mentioned earlier when the show. Also, I want to touch on sort of drug abuse.
Yeah.
But also the benefits of, say, for example, there's a human that's an orangeman often, and it's not healthy, and they're always anxious. The fruit of the blueman, which comes from a berry sloth, they eat snoozeberries, and it calms them down, makes them sleepy, sort of like other plants that we have.
Yeah.
And so it would be beneficial for a human like that. And so there's a whole magic system. There's civilizations, there's ancient civilizations, there's lore, and it's a very rich world that I've worked on for a while. So the trajectory of just this children's book right now, which only touches, there's like a hint of plantimals and like the wider world. But for the book, it's just the humans, and they're kind of like a summary of the realization that no matter what color you are or how you act, we're all humans.
Right.
And it's just that basic, like I said earlier, launching pad for when the show comes out.
Would you say like the theme is really about like, I guess, finding balance?
Yes, definitely. When like the opposites, like I said earlier, like a human can flip into their opposite.
Yeah.
If, say, they're green and they're peaceful and tender, they start to get pissed off, they'll flip into a Redman.
Yeah.
A journey that the main character is going to go through, and does in the book too, is recognizing that these opposites arise mutually. That you're not just stuck as one, but they're both sort of actually dependent on each other. And when you realize that connection between even these opposites, not just these different parts, but even the opposites, that helps you integrate all of these different parts in you. Yeah. And when you find that balance inside you, you can embody any emotion or personality in such a way that keeps that groundedness, that harmony within you. And then that helps you interact with other people and find harmony with others.
That's great. So, I really like that.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's a good vehicle for, learning and discussing things like that. Yeah. Like not being afraid of those emotions that we so often, paint as negative. Being kind of like living in them. And
there's places for them, but also not to lose yourself to them.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think that's, that's kind of, that's a lot of, that's in a nutshell, basically what Soul goes through on his journey. So there's a scene in Dogs on the Sendero where Soul discovers his eagle feather. And in a lot of Native American cultures, that's a really big deal. Basically, the eagle is seen as a navigator. And when you receive your feather, it's affirmation that you're doing the right thing, that you're on the right path. And that actually was based on when I found my eagle feather. That actually happened to me. It was, I had just moved here from Los Angeles. I had all these doubts and questions about everything that I was doing. And I was so unsure of everything, every little step I was making. Is this the right thing to do? I was lost. And we were on a hike. It was the 4th of July, and we were hiking in the gorge. And it was me, Mario, his girlfriend Melissa, and my wife. And they were hiking ahead, and I'm just like dragging my feet and kicking rocks, and, and like
all depressed. And,
yeah, and I
like a violet man.
Yeah, and I bent down. I think it was to tie my shoe, and plop, there it fell. Right in front of me, and I knew what it was. It wasn't like in the film we use kind of the traditional eagle, the white with the black tip on it, just because that's what's most recognizable. Mine was, one of the more inner feathers, but as soon as I saw it, I knew what it was, and I was just in tears.
it was from an eagle.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I saw the shadow fly overhead, and then this just dropped right in front of me, and and that's not always the case. It's not always as like right in front of your face as that.
That in your face.
But it happens.
Yeah.
It happens. You want to know something funny?
What's that?
That happened to me yesterday.
Did it really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I was out on a walk with my dear mother, and there's this trail by Loch 18 on the way to Herkimer, and there's usually bald eagles in that area. Mm-hmm. And I've been a little down about certain aspects of my life, feeling like a violet man. But we found a feather, and that was like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right, I'll feel a little better now.
And it doesn't.
I want to hang out with you guys. I don't find any feathers and shit like that.
Everyone has synchronicities. Just got to be open to them.
Well, I mean, like I've heard people finding them like in their mailbox. Yeah. It just, it comes when you least suspect it to. Yeah. It's not like something you're actively looking for. No. It happens, but
there's not a lot of time left for me. It's.
We're gonna find like a little meteor rock soon. I bet that's what it is. Yeah.
A little moon dust.
Yeah. Maybe it came.
Maybe
like,
it came.
What is this?
It's just dust.
I'm happy.
They gotta keep this city clean. And that's how it ended up in your mailbox.
Okay. That makes sense.
So that's good. I guess with the overall theme of Dogs on the Sendero, though, is kind of overcoming grief, overcoming loss. And I like how you put that, though. You're not overcoming it. You're like, it's an acceptance, and ultimately that is kind of what it is. And how did you put it? Did you like incorporating? What was the word
integrate?
You used? Integrate.
I like that. Overcoming definitely is healthy too. Like I don't want to talk down on that word because it's a fuel. Like sometimes you do need to overcome things, but when it comes to like your inner state,
right,
and your inner feelings, it seems best to not cut anything out and respect the whole self that you are, even the parts that hurt.
Yeah, because
even those can serve you if you allow them to. It seems.
Yeah, I mean, yes, half of the art we do is from hurt, right? Yeah. If your agony or sorrow has a place in this world, it's the creation of beautiful things, and there's a lot of beauty that can come from it. And that's kind of like that's so one of the things that originally inspired this story was this was a different script that I had been kind of toying with. This was years ago, and I don't remember if you remember years ago in Herkimer, that guy who went around shooting people.
Yeah. The one that was holed up and all the SWAT team and
Yeah. So my wife was in lockdown because it started in Ilion and she taught in Ilion. And so the school went immediately into lockdown. And, of course, I'm like just sitting at home, like terrified over what's happening. I'm listening to the news and everything else. And long story short, this gentleman went into a barber shop and he shot up the barber shop. And I think there was 2 people who survived. One of them was the barber. And I don't remember the gentleman's name. They used to call him the singing barber because he was always singing. People come in and he'd sing while he was cutting their hair. It was adorable. And so I had this idea of writing a short film based on this moment after I read this article, and I think it was in Rolling Stone. I could be mistaken. But they interviewed this barber, and they were asking him some pretty deep, heavy questions about the whole thing. But really, most of his responses were, it was a lot of survivor's guilt. Because the guy came in, shot everybody up. He fell down. He got wounded. But then another body fell on top of him, and he pretended to be dead. And so...
Smart move.
Yeah, of course. But he kind of was racked with guilt and asking, like, why me? Why did I survive this and they didn't? And I don't know if there's any truth to the story, but I did, I was looking into it even further because, like I said, I wanted to do a short film about it. And like I had all these grand plans. I was like, I'm going to cast Joe Pesci as this guy. I'm going to be the one to bring him out of retirement. But
bold.
I don't know if there's any truth to this, but from what I heard, he was having a conversation with his mother, and basically asking these questions like, why me? Why am I here? And they didn't make it. And she basically said, because he missed. And there was like this kind of a dark humor in that I really latched onto and I really liked. And there's like, Dogs on the Sendero is soaked in that. And because the thing is, like, the hardest I've ever laughed in my life is at a funeral. And I know that sounds morbid, but...
Oh, I can see that. There is a lot of dark humor. That is how a lot of people deal with that.
Yeah.
It's cathartic.
It is.
It really is, yeah.
It's a release, something...
That would be me telling those kind of jokes.
Yeah. I mean, it's been like every funeral that I go to, there's like a moment that I'm suddenly laughing. Something stupid or talking about reminiscing over a memory of somebody or something. I remember when my grandfather died, and I'm laughing as I say this, but we were, it was my paternal grandfather, and we were loaded into like this limo that was following in the whole procession. And my, I guess I can call him my uncle. This is my aunt's boyfriend. At the time, he loads us in there. He was a cop. He loads us in there. And the way he ran away, we all just started laughing. We were like in tears. We're like, is that really how he runs? It was something so stupid like that. But it was that idea of kind of being brought to the edge of this despair and then having this kind of soft landing afterward. That was really what I was trying to achieve with the script, and I think we did that.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Like I said, the best review that we got of the film was down at the Reel to Reel Film Festival. We come out and I've got the RV parked out front because I want people to like take pictures. We're using it as like a
prop.
Yeah, basically photo op and stuff. And the projectionist is sitting there like in the dark shadows, and you just see him smoking a cigarette, his little face being lit by the cherry of his cigarette, and he flicks it and he comes over and he says, "You made me laugh. You made me cry. You made me laugh with tears in my eyes. Fuck you." And then he walked away. That was it. Best review we got.
Yeah. A real one.
Yeah. But that was, I mean, that's a lot of what I was kind of the energy that I was really going for in this film, because like I said, I didn't want to write a movie that people just watch this just sad film and then go home and want to slit their wrists. So we're like, oh my God, there's no hope left. That's the point.
It is. It's hopeful.
It's hopeful. Yeah. There's light at the end of the tunnel, or at the end of the path.
Yep. And it might not be a train.
Hopefully it's not a train. Yeah. If it is, I hope it stopped and you're getting aboard.
Yeah, really.
I don't know. I don't know where I really want to go from here. Thoughts?
Looking at me.
Empty up here.
It's been that way for a while.
Yeah.
You want to go on to your next project?
Oh, yeah. See, this is why you host these things and not me.
Yeah, I know. I'm just sitting here observing.
Got the experience. Well, one thing I'll mention for the human is I do plan on going to schools. I'm going to be starting with my mom's school in Rome, City School District, one of the elementaries. I'm going to be speaking with every grade and doing a little presentation on the human and how it all works. And I want to do some activities with the kids. Like an idea I have is the whole audience just embodying every color of human, like getting them all angry and then making them act all scared and then excited and so on and so forth. And then help them have them look around and see how, oh, I have all of these. Everyone else has all of these. But what connects us all is that we're all people, we're all humans. And maybe that'll help when you're in school and maybe you're getting bullied or you're a bully. And you can see maybe you look at your bully not as the Redman that they're probably acting as, but actually the Orangeman, the scared kid that they probably actually are if they're treating you that
inside,
way.
Yeah.
And that there's actually something that connects you. And if you remember that and they remember that, it makes it a lot easier to be friends.
And for those who don't, you bring rope.
Yeah.
You just tie their asses up.
Hey, you could be a Redman yourself too. There's times for that. But
That's
yeah,
great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So any schools that would like to do stuff, I'll be putting videos out, sending it to our man Dave Warner over here soon.
Okay.
So yeah.
Hot dog. And then Sendero, dogs on the Sendero is going to be, releasing.
Hot dog, get it?
We're gonna, we're hoping to release in some local venues as well. Do some theatrical releases, but honestly, if you want to support us and you want to show us some love, the best way to do it is just rent the movie when it comes out. It comes out August 5th. It's going to be on Apple TV, iTunes, Google / YouTube, Vudu, and there's another one. A bunch of them. It's going to be on. It's going to be.
You've got the big ones.
Yeah, all the big ones.
Yeah.
All the base, kind of pay-per-view ones to start.
Do you know the cost?
I don't.
Just curious.
$100 million.
I whatever the average cost is, I really don't know. That's something that we haven't actually discussed yet.
Yeah, that's kind of a key thing.
Yeah, I think there's kind of a general cost for.
Okay,
what is it like?
Well, you can
$12.
purchase,
Yeah.
you can rent, you can
you can rent it or purchase it. Yeah.
You can also find The Human on Amazon for $12.
Oh, Amazon. That was the other one.
That's right. Amazon.
Amazon Prime.
It will be on Amazon Prime eventually. So it does basically the way it works is like you do like a 6-month run in the pay-per-view, and then you go to what is called AVOD, which is like advertising something or other. But it's like Amazon Prime, Tubi, all those other ones that have like ads before or during the movie.
How do you get paid on that? Do they like say, oh, okay, it's been going 6 months and we made this much and here's your cut?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like they're very transparent. That's actually why we went with Good Deed Entertainment.
It's hard to cover anything these days on, all those platforms, and they don't control them. And so.
Well, there are options of like self-distribution nowadays.
Right.
And
but that would change the rating of this show.
What of this show?
This show.
You said self-distribution. I'm
Gotcha.
sorry. I was running with another thought.
But yeah, it's they're pretty transparent now. Like you get essentially like a loadout of everything.
Of everything. As many times as it's been played, bought, rented, whatever.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah. So this is my first time kind of being in the driver's seat for this, so I'm excited to see how it goes as well.
Awesome.
As we develop and do more and more.
All right.
Right
So
here
we're
in Little Falls.
right
and
here
the surrounding
in Little
areas.
Falls.
Yeah.
Coming to a theater near you soon.
Oh, yeah.
All right, cool.
Cool. That was it.
All right.
Appreciate it.
See ya.
Thank you so much.